I didn't even think about this. I'm just coming right on. I didn't stop for a moment. I just decided, well, it's time. It's time to do Tao of the Day. It's 7:45 on a Friday. This is my last for a couple days. It's always great to come to Friday because I realize on Saturdays and Sundays how much I really love doing Tao of the Day, but it's also so important for me to not do them on the weekends. It's such a good thing for me to take that break and to do that. But if you're up for giving me a number, why don't you come up? Kelly, oh my God, how are you doing? We are going to talk today. I'm so excited to just sit and hold space and be present. But you're gonna have a Tao, and I'm excited. Like you're gonna give me a number. It's gonna fix your life.
Let's start it off today.
Yes, get it going. How are you doing?
It's been a weird, not sleepy couple of nights. The full moons. That's how.
Yeah, they can. So let's get into this. Why don't you give me a number?
Oh, 1 sec. Okay. Yeah, it was clean. Yeah. Uh, so number. I would like to think of it for 1 second. Um, it's between one and what numbers again?
81.
81. Okay. 57.
57. If you want to be a great leader, you must learn to follow the Tao. Stop trying to control and let go of fixed plans and concepts, and the world will govern itself.
Mm-hmm.
The more prohibitions you have, the less virtuous people will be. The more weapons you have, the less secure people will be. The more subsidies you have, the less self-reliant people will be. Therefore, the master says, I let go of the law and people become honest. I let go of economics and people become prosperous. I let go of religion and people become serene. I let go of all desire for the common good, and the good becomes common as grass.
This morning, I thought about somebody, and I was like, they have a lot of influence and power, and the best way, as the last time I think I was here with Zhao, the best it like the best use of it is to not use it, and that really is true. Like it's almost evil if you do, and that's what comes up for me again in this one almost is that that's the parts I heard. Like leadership is a burden, is as big of a burden as you make it, and you don't have to, you know, if you don't try to, or you don't try, you don't if you don't try to be, but just allow, I think, then things will go as they are designed, like in their flow, you know?
Yeah. Everything kind of just, I was having a conversation yesterday with a couple of people about the idea, like, because I talk a lot about recovery and I'm coming out of addiction and all of this stuff. But like, I was having conversation with people that are making an app for sober people. And I was just like, like, I don't care if you're sober. And that's why I did a talk on,
Mm.
I did a little live this morning about like, I don't care if someone's sober. I care if they're touching themselves, like if they're moving in the direction that they need to go right now, and that they have the freedom to do that. This, and as we start this 57, what a beautiful one though. And I want to say this is a Tao that I don't think I've read a lot of, because I love that last line, like, let go of the desire for the common good, and the good becomes common as grass.
High intention, low attachment to the outcome. Yeah.
Yeah. Just like, why define what the common good is and trying to get there? Like, the good is common, and that's what is everywhere. It's everywhere. It's like ubiquitous. If you want, like, this, what I was referencing earlier was like, stop trying to control and let go of fixed plans and concepts, and the world will govern itself. And I think
Mm-hmm.
that's what you were referencing as well, with when you were
Mm-hmm.
talking about like someone with a lot of power. It's like, when you have power, like, The Tao
Well, the
just says,
leadership part.
yeah, like
Hmm.
leadership or power or whatnot. It's like, step out of the way. Don't, don't let your concepts and plans get in the way of other people in the world.
It's like the greatest evil I was thinking today is like the greatest evil to me is somebody who wins the heart and the trust, the following, the faith of like the whole open-hearted, wholehearted kind of people, and then they use that power. Like it's okay to win it, but it's not necessarily okay to use it, oddly, because I don't know, like that's a strange thing, but that's a true leader, like that other Tao that we read. Like the leadership piece is really heavy on me right now, and I think it's just the misuse of this again here. Like it's all about leadership, and like if you don't govern, then people will tend to just do the right thing. Like balance occurs. Like tipping points happen and the ship rights.
Yeah. There's a Tao that talks about, like, the master governs and the people don't know he exists. And then the next is the one who is loved, like you're talking about, right? Like there's
Yeah.
there's the leader that is loved. And then after he is loved, the next best is the one who is feared. And it's very often the one who is loved tumbles to the place of being feared, because it's like, I'm giving you my love, and now I'm going to use the fact that I'm giving you my love to withhold it from you. And now I'm afraid of you withholding that love. And then the one who is despised. And that seems to be like a spiral down, and that's what happens when we have leadership. Because as a leader, rather than just being like, because in that Tao it says, when the master governs, and when he's in charge of people or whatever, like, and then it goes to a leader, right? If you want to be a great leader, learn to follow the Tao. That's what this one says. And in
Which
in
is
go on.
it's the not it's the lack of is not trying to control. Like truly, it's
Right.
not trying to make people be like you or make people be like a something else. It's also not misusing that love. Like I think that people inherently desire to trust, desire to be inspired, like because we're all little kids at some point, right? Like little kids are they don't go around judging people, they learn to judge people, and like
Right.
and we all are born with this just innate, like loving, trusting heart. And then what? And so if you are a person who gains the trust of people who are loving and trusting, that's not, and you're a leader, you have a responsibility to not use that.
Yeah. This is interesting. This comes into a theory I have about like relationships and how I view relationships and things. When I get in relationship with somebody, I always remind myself, and it's so much easier now that I've done it for so long, that this person became the person that I love without me. And
Yeah, that's
so
good.
and so I don't have to do anything to make them awesome or to guide them in any way. They got here on their own. And I trust that they're going to get to where they're going on their own. And, in that, I don't grasp and hold on to relationship very strongly. And I don't demand I have those things, but it is, for me, it's a lot more beautiful to allow somebody to live than to try and be in relationship with them in which they have to be something for me.
Yeah, no expectations. Like
Right.
expectations are killers of relationships. I mean, even again, you can take it to not couples, but children. Like when you have your expectations on your children, you're damaging that relationship between you two because they aren't allowed. You're not creating space for them to be themselves and learn who that is, as you hopefully have been able to do. You're literally stifling them, and it's just a cycle one way or the other, depending on which part you want to be in that flow.
Yeah. And then the next part of this is beautiful because it goes through these three different things. The more prohibitions you have, the less virtuous you will be. The less virtuous people will be. The more weapons you have, the less secure people will be. The more subsidies you have, the less self-reliant people will be. And no matter whether you're talking about, being a leader here on wisdom, or you're talking about being a leader in your family or being a leader anywhere, when you start putting on prohibitions, when you start weaponizing your words or weaponizing anything, and when you start adding subsidies, where you start saying, oh well, it's okay that you do this because we'll pick up the slack, in any way. And that's not to say that, like, I mean, I use food stamps and I use things like that. And so those things are really great because our system is set up in a way that is unfair. So like
Hmm.
like I have no problem with subsidies in that realm. Um, but it does, kind of cause like, I know I'm self-reliant, but like when we start looking at, like, what is that? What is a prohibition that we're leaving, that we're doing in the world? Where are we telling people not to be who they are?
I think too, I think of when when you're walking with somebody and they have a blindfold on, if you sound afraid, they will feel afraid. If
Hmm.
you sound confident and sure-footed, they will feel confident and sure-footed. So the way that you experience the world affects those around you. If I'm not happy, other people are not happy. It's inevitable. And inevitable. Even if I'm a solo human and don't have anyone around me ever, I still interact in some capacity just by existing, right? And so being able to trust and feeling that centering trust within, so you can trust, like, I will be okay. Like, the universe has me, I have me, we're here together, it'll be all right no matter what. You can give that to somebody who has a blindfold on and can't see right then, by just
Right.
being confident. So to be trustworthy, you have to also be trusting.
And I think we all have a blindfold on, to
Hmm.
some
For
degree. And
sure.
it's like, and that's what brings us to this next line, because the law is the thing that gives us a barometer of how much fear we should have, or economics gives us
Hmm. Hmm.
a barometer of how much prosperity we
Absolutely.
see. Religion gives us a barometer of how serene we can be. And so
Totally.
this next verse, which is the next part of this verse, says, therefore the master says, I let go of the law and people become honest. I let go of economics and people become prosperous. I let go of religion and people become serene. I let go of all desire for the common good, and the good becomes common as grass.
Yeah. It's for me, it's the most evil thing is to abuse the power of somebody that trusts you. And that's like, if you don't cling to the outcome, but just show up with pure and good intention, then what else do you need to do at that point, right?
I love how you put that, like, to abuse the power of trust.
Yeah.
Because, like, trust is so powerful.
Yeah.
Like, there is nothing more, like, nothing that can move somebody more than to trust, right? If I trust you and you say something, that means something. And if we look at the world today as, I mean, one of the things that really kind of gets my goat, like,
Mm.
is when companies utilize, like, I don't want
Methods
to say utilize
to
testimonials and stuff, but
they feed on people's hope. That's what gets my goat.
yeah,
If that's what you're going to say. But they feed on their hope. They go out there and they know that somebody's down, a society, a group of individuals, and they feed on their hope like vampires. Like, they literally call them in. It's terrible. Like, it's terrible. It happens a lot this last year. Like, the worst time to do it when everybody needs hope. They just went out and they just like raked them in with nets.
yeah.
It is pretty awful.
We have found ways we know how to get people to think what we want them to think through marketing. And
It,
when you gain the trust, and people were trusting their friends for
mhm.
such a long time on, like, oh, tell me where to go, tell me where to go, tell me what book to read, tell me, like, what restaurant to go to. And then the entire world just started just paying people to say good things about their products, and that's it.
Mm, it's a
Like,
solid
and now
point.
it's,
Hmm.
yeah, and now now we once again are going to lowest common denominator stuff, and like we don't know what to believe anymore, which I think is
Hmm.
good. I think we need to get to a place where we don't know what to believe so we can trust ourselves.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. It's like if anybody could do anything with their life, it's just empower other people to be empowered as they
Yep.
are, to feel to be their own leader, to feel that within, to trust themselves. Absolutely.
And that's the common good. The common good
Yeah.
is in mutuality the common good, meaning like what is good for you, I support because it's good for you. That is what
Yeah.
common good is. You know, like it's not about what is good for me is going to be good for you, is going to be good for my neighbor. It's all about what is the common good.
Yeah. We don't need just gray, and we don't need just one kind of person, and we don't need to.
Oh, you got cut off just at that moment. If you can come back on just to finish that thought, that'd be great. And I know you're, you know, you have busy morning and stuff. So if not, that's, oh, yes, you will. Okay, great. Good, because I wanted to hear what you said lose at the end there, just so you know.
We'll hop down in 2 seconds. I think I was just saying, like, we don't need. It's just the world is so full of color, so full of everything you can ever think of. I love to say, and everything you've never thought of. Like, there's so much imagination, so much just infinite things that can exist. Let's not try to create people to be just one thing. Like, they don't need to be just gray. We don't need to all do the same thing. And the common good is kind of like this oxymoron, right? Because if one person isn't gaining all of the assets or all of the resources or all of the benefit, then there's not really a common good. Everybody's just doing good.
Right. And good is common. Good becomes common as grass,
Yes,
and it's not that the good is the same. Like
right.
we grasp onto this idea that there is a common good, meaning like there is a good that's amongst everybody. But when we let go of desire for that, the good becomes common rather than the common becoming good.
Yeah, yes, the good, yes. Yeah.
So beautiful. Man,
Thank you.
57. Thank
Who
you.
knew 57? All right, I'll
Heinz,
talk to
you
you
had
later.
something going so long ago. All
All
right.
right,
You have
I'll
a wonderful
talk to you
morning.
soon.
We'll be in
You
touch.
too.
Bye bye. Oh, it's always good to have Kelly on. She is a nice breath of fresh air. Yes, the good becomes common as grass. That's so beautiful. I want everybody just to be able to embrace that. I let go of the desire for the common good, and the good becomes common as grass. Like, so delicious. That is so good. So good. Um, so yeah, I am here talking Tao of the day. That was Kelly. This is Friday, so it is the last of the week. You know, because I only do weekdays. And I was saying before Kelly jumped on that it's nice to take that break, to just pause and say, okay, I'm not doing the Tao today. That doesn't mean that I don't pick a number for myself and do my own little meditation on the Tao and stuff. But in sharing it and stuff, I do like having a couple days off and to come back to it. It's nice. And I know you guys may love to get the Tao every day, and you can. All you have to do is like reach out to me on Instagram, and I will send you a link to the Stephen Mitchell translation on Terabis. And I would love for you to have access to the Tao, because the Tao, you know, it needs to be more ubiquitous. And there are free translations, and if you don't like Stephen Mitchell's, you can get close to 100 other ones, I think, on this site. So I would love to send you a link to that. So if you reach out to me on Instagram, and my link is here, you will just ask me for the link, and I'll definitely send it over to you. So that was 57. Kelly picked 57, and that was beautiful. And we went through it very nicely. I'm gonna try and feel. I have I'm drinking my ice booch today again, and so I have a little chill in my voice. So if you hear a little shaking, it's because of that. Whew, let's calm it down. 15. I'm gonna pick 15. I don't know if 15's been picked recently, but I'm picking it. The ancient masters were profound and subtle. Their wisdom was unfathomable. There is no way to describe it. All we can describe is their appearance. They were careful as someone crossing an ice over stream, alert as a warrior in enemy territory, courteous as a guest, fluid as melting ice, shapeable as a block of wood, receptive as a valley, clear as a glass of water. Do you have the patience to wait till your mud settles and the water is clear? Can you remain unmoving till the right action arises by itself? The master doesn't seek fulfillment, not seeking, not expecting. She's present and can welcome all things. This idea of welcoming all things, and when I get to do these alone, when I get to do these without another person, meaning that there's no time limit, and I get to explore my own mind, I always like to bring the end back to the beginning. And so the beginning of this reads, the ancient masters were profound and subtle. And then at the end, it says, the master doesn't seek fulfillment, not seeking, not expecting. She is present and can welcome all things. Their wisdom was unfathomable. There is no way to describe it. All we can describe is their appearance. So as I'm kind of thinking about this, a lot of thoughts are running through my head about this. She is present and can welcome all things. Not seeking, not expecting. She is present and can welcome all things. Okay. So I have, a concept of this. I mean, I've gone through this a number of times with other people, and so I do have a concept of this verse. The ancient masters were profound and subtle. Their wisdom was unfathomable. There is no way to describe it. All we can describe is their appearance. I have this concept of the brains, the gut brain, the heart brain, the head brain. And if you've heard me, I talk about the spirit brain, which would be our first non physical brain. As we develop consciousness, I look at ancient masters, right? So they're talking ancient masters. This was written 600 BC. So ancient from there, stories that were told and passed down. The ancient masters were profound and subtle. Their wisdom was unfathomable. There is no way to describe it. All we can describe is their appearance. When this was written, the head brain was in fashion. Let's say it was the one that was moving into control. And so this text and the Old Testament of the Bible and other texts that were written, 600 to 1000 BC, those were written at the birth of the head brain, and when the heart brain was at its, the heart brain was where the head brain is now, right? We look around and all we see is logic. Where then, when you looked around, all you would have seen was relationship. Relationship between people and the land, relationship between people and people, relationship between communities, and like when I say communities, I mean tribes and other things like that were going on. So these are the ancient masters that we're looking back on, right? This is looking back on the ancient masters that had the gut brain was at the fore, or the gut brain, the safety brain, was at the fore of development of consciousness, and the heart brain was moving into flux. And so the same sort of thing we're seeing now, where it's like overly masculine and tending, like we're starting to see yielding to the feminine. That was the same, like I'm going to make a leap and say Lao Tzu was looking back to the ancients that were moving into the heart brain, or the ancients in which we're living in the heart brain and very, very secure in the gut brain. So very safe and very much in relation to everything around them, from the earth to the sky to each other. Okay, so I am going to take that leap and say that Lao Tzu, when he mentions ancient masters, he's talking about masters that had a balance of gut and heart brain, and heart brain was beginning to edge the gut brain. So there's a balance here, and that balance of relationship and safety. What a beautiful relationship that is. What a beautiful way of looking at the world. So the ancient masters were profound and subtle. They were deep and subtle. They weren't so obvious. They weren't so on the nose as we are with our logic brain. And Lao Tzu was seeing the logic brain take over, which is why this text was written, which is why the Old Testament was written. Understand that the logic brain is going to be, when the logic brain is really kind of firing, you create written language. Before the logic brain, you have spoken language, but not written language. So the ancient masters were profound and subtle. Their wisdom was unfathomable. There is no way to describe it. All we can describe is their appearance. And that's the thing. There is no way to describe it, because now we have written language. Now we have ways, like, now we understand that we want to describe things. Now we have addressed logic. And now all we can describe is their appearance, because we are logic beings now, because we have moved into the head brain. We have moved into the logic brain. We have stepped away from what these ancient masters, their profound subtlety, right? They were careful as someone crossing an iced over stream. Careful, of course, because their gut brain was controlling things. And they were careful in their relationships, and they were careful in their movement, and they were careful in everything that they did. Alert as a warrior in enemy territory, of course, because they always were, because they did understand that they needed to be. John LaCase is going to join me. We can put a pause here. I'll definitely return to 15. Let's see. John, how are you doing?
I'm fine. I just wanted to comment on the unfathomability of Tao. My voice is a little weak this morning because I'm still recovering, but part of the unfathomability of it, I think, is because there was 100 versions and no one could, and they were contradictory, so they were hard to figure out. I think that leads to the abstraction of who we are. These guys started out as being philosophers for hire to failing despots who were at war with one another, and these guys came out of the fire as a better idea. And so the unfathomability becomes the confusion of the abstract mind trying to figure out what's better than what we've got now. And it became what it is today over a 3,000 year period. Does that make any sense?
Well, the unfathomability of the Tao, like of God or of the universe. I mean, I don't understand your reference.
Well, my only reference there in this conversation is that as this evolved,
What is this? I'm sorry.
the philosophy itself, the philosophy of the Tao. In other
Oh,
words,
okay, yeah, yeah.
as the philosophy evolved, it took hold with many brains, with many people,
Yeah.
and there was many versions,
Mm-hmm.
and those versions weren't in sync with one another; they were contradictory.
Mm-hmm.
So through that contradiction came the difficulty in figuring out what it meant, and that took time to evolve.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's what I'm trying to say. Is that it's not too unusual for this process to play out the way it did. It came up through a dissatisfaction with warring factions, and the people want to get away from that. And so everybody came to the party with a different idea. And those ideas finally became an aggregation of what is now considered a philosophy. But it took 3,000 years to get it there. And that's where we are today. I think that I think it's almost the same as evolution. It's almost the same as the biology of evolution, where
I mean, I couldn't. I wouldn't. I wouldn't disagree. I mean, everything is the same as evolution. I mean, everything evolves. Kind of like we're in a. I feel like we are in a perception of reality in which we perceive evolution in a certain way, and I think that it all relates.
Yeah, yeah. Anyway, I'm not familiar with your morning program, so I may be stepping out of line here by talking to you. So I'll let you go on your way.
No, I
But
mean, no,
but
no, no, no. I mean, like this is just a format to. So I ask I ask anybody that comes up to pick a number between 1 and 81. We read the Tao and then just discuss what we feel like how it resonates.
yeah, yeah. Well, it surely resonates. There's no doubt about that.
Yeah. No,
Yeah.
yeah. And I'm not I, I I look at this as I look at the Tao as a place to contemplate.
Well, I think the Chinese were contemplating the Greeks, at 600 BCE.
Yeah.
I think they're looking around, like, who's got a better idea than this? I'm tired of these, I'm tired of the black powder.
Right.
And I think thank God, it started rather matter of factly, like, I've had enough of this. What else you got?
Hmm. Right.
And and then
And I
it
think
then we,
that
then
was,
we go
I
from
think
there.
that is part of the evolution of, you know, consciousness, right? That's part of the evolution of our relationship to consciousness, right? Like it is desirous to look outside of oneself because the kind of tapping into the frontal lobe as a primary means of moving forward, as that kind of developed, like 8, 10,000 years ago, as it started to kind of come online.
Yes, yes. I
So
would.
yeah, so that I feel like that's it's a natural sort of place to go, and I think so many religions that so much ancient text that was written around that time, like right when right around like that's 600 to 1000 BCE, right? Like we really started writing things down, like written language became something. And so the frontal lobe, I feel like, is really kind of like taking ownership of our lives and starting to move people in a more, logical or directed way. So I was, like I don't know if you would be interested in picking a number and discussing a chapter or a verse with me. You're muted. Maybe you got a call or.
Oh, am I back?
Yep, you're back.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I put my elbow on my phone.
Okay.
I'm I'm working at a disadvantage because I'm I don't have the documents in front of me to pick one that I like, and I'm not a follower. I'm more of a historian mentally than I am a follower of the Tao.
Okay.
But
Well,
but
yeah.
that's okay because I mean we can run in with we can start with Pythagoras and Buddha and Confucianism and Heraclitus and all those guys. I mean they're all kind of in the period
Yeah.
talking to each other from across wherever, and we end up with Socrates. So I mean I think you've got I really like your program and I guess I'll stand by and participate. But right now I'm a little bit puny, so to say, because I just had lung surgery, and
I did know about that, and I'm glad you're on
yeah,
the mend.
and so I don't have quite the power I would like to have. Not
Well, I
that
think
power
that's
is
good.
important.
I think that's good.
Yeah,
It's good. It's good. It's good to it's good to be reminded that we don't have the power we think we have.
no shit, Sherlock. Yeah,
Yeah.
right. Yeah, yeah. By the way, say hello to Kelly for me if she was on earlier.
Yes, yes, we are. We have a mutual friend in Kelly.
Yeah,
So
we do.
I would love and no matter how puny you feel, I would love for you to pick a number between 1 and 81, and I would love to just even if you can't participate, I would love to read it.
Okay, all right. Just a minute here. Let's go to 40.
40. Sounds good. I'm going to go ahead and read this and we'll see what it says. Oh, it's very, very short. So it's perfect for, being puny. Like, return is the movement of the Tao. Yielding is the way of the Tao. All things are born of being. Being is born of non-being.
That sounds like we've just stepped straight into the abstract thinkers of the mid 19th century in the Cafe Society in Paris.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, that's Heidegger. We're talking about Heidegger
Oh,
there.
beautiful. Nice reference. I like that. Yeah, very nice. Very nice. Yes. Like I don't get those references very often on here, so I'm really glad to get it. So yeah, return, like, and like I really like this. The Tao always for me kind of sits in a feminine space, and that yielding and the idea of yielding is so present, and and yielding and non-being. I think they they reference each other really well. But yeah, what are your thoughts? Other
Well,
than Heidegger.
I mean, yeah, I think that's Being in Time is what his greatest work,
Yeah.
and being is very difficult to fathom. I mean, I've had this conversation with Jacqueline from time to time. I don't know if she's on this morning or not, but Jacqueline Way has a very interesting concept of being, and very accurate, I think. And she reminds me a little bit of Heidegger
Yeah.
in focusing on being, and being itself. If you think about being as a state, then you throw off all the trappings. If you're able to focus on being, just the state of being, and time as you sit in time, then all the other stuff falls away, because now you're just being in the cosmos. You're being in the universe,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
being there is really all you're about. All the rest of this stuff is ad hoc to your existence. All you're trying to do is be,
Right.
just be.
And yield to all things, right? Just like
Yeah,
yield, like that thing that is, like that lung surgery, that is just be here.
that's right. That's
The
right.
recovery to that is happening. Just be here present to it. Yield to it. Don't force yourself upon it.
With a little help of a Cotton, maybe. I don't know
Well,
about
whatever.
that.
Like how Oxycontin, trust me, like I'm coming out of addiction and stuff, so Oxycontin, that's gonna let you yield. That is gonna let you yield.
Well,
There's
I ran
real
out of it.
yield behind a fucking yeah.
Yeah, I'm aware of that, and thank you for
Yeah, yeah,
bringing it
yeah.
up. I yeah, I'm yeah, okay.
Yeah. That's all we need to say. Thank you so much for joining me, John. Like I have to say that I don't think we've spoken before, but I'm really glad that we did. I'm really glad that you're on the mend. And I'm glad, like as someone who often talks about recovery and other things like that, I do want to say that I am so glad that we have opioids, and I'm so glad that we have these things on that are available to help yield, to help people yield. And yes, there are opioid problems, and those are things that we address slowly as we kind of redress everything that's been going on. But I'm really glad that you have that, and I'm glad that and I'm really happy that we got to connect.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it. I appreciate your thoughts. Thank you.
Yeah. Well, have
Thank
a
you.
wonderful day.
Okay. Bye bye.
That was beautiful. I've never interacted with John. That was a beautiful interaction, and we got to cover 40, and that was fun. I'm gonna go back to 15, and we're gonna continue talking about 15. Thank you, John. I hope you continue to be on the mend and feel good, yielding to your healing process. So yes, we were talking about John came on and talked about the unfathomability of the Tao, and in this 15, or that first section of 15, the ancient masters were profound and subtle. Their wisdom was unfathomable. There is no way to describe it. All we can describe is their appearance. And as I was talking about, like the development of consciousness and our stepping into consciousness, the Tao, and in this section, as John mentioned, so many people were living in their brains. So many people were writing, so many people were contributing their thoughts to what the Tao is. And then becomes a big part of this, where it's like all we can really describe is their appearance. And that is what I see as being the mental side of it. We can just describe, all we can do is describe this thing. We can't really understand the depth of their subtleness, or the depth of how profound they were. And I attribute that to them living from the space of the heart and the space of the gut, as it was balanced, as there was a balance between those things. So there was a balance of safety and relationship. Safety and relationship, of course, they were still in danger, but relationship kept them even more safe. And so, like, as we developed from safety to relationship, there was this balance in there. And then we found ourselves being alert as a warrior in enemy territory, found ourselves being careful as someone going over an iced over stream. Once again, there's nothing better than like being cautious, but then also understanding you're in relationship. Courteous as a guest, you are in relationship. Courteous, like you're always a guest, even if you're not even if you're not in someone's home, like even if you're on the street, you are a guest to that party of people who don't know each other and were never invited. Like being courteous on the street, being courteous in the store, being courteous in your acts and your movements and everything that you do. Fluid as melting ice. When someone moves, you move as well. Like it is not. I remember being younger, and when I walked down the street, I would just walk head down, moving straight, forcing people to move out of my way. I was not being fluid. I was forcing myself, and I was trying to believe I was something that I wasn't, or I was trying to, own something that I didn't. And later on, I think in this one, do we talk about possessing without having? I think we may, but we'll get there. Shapeable as a block of wood, meaning I'm paying attention and I'm able to be taught, and I'm open to learning. Whether I'm learning from the universe, be it through experience, or if I'm being shaped by somebody, by overhearing somebody or learning something that somebody is teaching. Like there's always, I am allowing myself to be shapeable because I am in relationship and safety is at hand, right? I want to be more safe and I want to be in relationship. Receptive as a valley, like allow things in, allow you to help others be safe as well. Clear as a glass of water. People know your intentions. That's kind of how I see that. As it relates to this verse right here. Do you have the patience to wait till your mud settles and the water clears? I mean, as John recovers, he's going to have to find that patience to just settle, to allow himself to be present, to allow himself to be there in this moment. Can you remain unmoving until the right action arises by itself? This is work that I've been doing, which is why I'm doing that dark retreat, so that I can be unmoving, so that I can be in one place without the interactions and without the information that my eyes bring in every day of my life. Right? I want to be able to remain unmoving still and listen to everything that's going on within me and around me. The master doesn't seek fulfillment, not seeking, not expecting. She is present and can welcome all things. I mentioned to John that I'm coming out of addiction, and we talked about Oxycontin, and kind of had a little laugh, and that was fun. But I also did a talk this morning on Instagram that related to this idea that I don't want you to be sober. Like, I want you to want what you want and get what you want. Like, I don't care. Like, I am grateful, like I mentioned to John, for Oxycontin. I'm grateful for opioids. I'm grateful for all of those things. I don't think any of those things should be illegal. I don't think if you are questioning your alcohol use, good, question it. Now come up with an answer and do something. I do not think you should be sober unless you think you should be sober. If you are not questioning your alcohol use and you just have a drink every now and again, or you drink every night but it's not a question for you, then whatever. I don't want to persuade you into asking the question. But if you're asking the question, and if I happen to persuade you to ask the question and it's uncomfortable, well, then I do want you to ask the question. But if you drink, I don't need an excuse as to why, or an excuse as to why you don't. I can welcome all things. And that's why, not seeking, not expecting. We talked about expectation with Kelly. And that's the thing. When we can be here present, don't don't seek fulfillment. Don't seek to, you know, our desires. And I think that we it's today's been a really good share. Today's been a really good share. I really appreciate the Heidegger reference. I really appreciate Kelly coming on. I really appreciate talking also about addiction and being able to express that. Yes, I'm really glad that opioids exist. It's a shame that so many people have been hurt by opioids, but that is a sign of our society, not the individuals, right? It's not a moral thing. It is, and it's not, the pharmaceutical industries, although they did put a lot out there. It is a society in which people want to escape. When we build a society in which everybody needs to escape from, well, they're going to find ways of escaping. And whether it's opioids or something else, like, opioids just happen to be the thing that were most available, and so I don't have any problem with that, other than the fact that we have a society that hasn't yielded. We have a society that is hard, and we have a society that, when people have problems, we feel like medicating them because they don't have to do any work. But as we see in, the philosophy of the Tao and the philosophy of being is hard. Being is not just something that we do, and our society pulls us from being all the time, trying to tell us we don't have to be who we are. We can be someone else. And Facebook and Meta, or Instagram, and all these things allow us to not be, to create something other than our being, that which we are. So I hope you guys are having a great morning. I hope each and every one of you has a wonderful weekend. On Tuesday, I host my next Recover Yourself workshop. If you guys go to my Eventbrite page, you'll find links in my profile. If you go there and you type in wisdom, you'll get $30 off for a $10 ticket. But if that's even too much, you can just donate. And I don't care how much you give, but any donation will get you all of the links and get you connected to me so that you can go to my next workshop. My workshop is entitled Recover Yourself, and it's all about recovering your whole self. All right. I love you guys. I think that doing the Tao has been something that's been wonderful for me, and I hope it's been great for you. I really enjoyed John's share, and I hope he comes on and joins me again, because when we talk about the Tao, so the Tao, as many of you may have heard me say, like, has kind of two branches, right? There's the religious branch and there's the philosophical branch, and I only deal with the Tao Te Ching. The only text that I read the I Ching and stuff, but in this talk, we're only looking at it as a philosophical mode, as a philosophical model of living a reasonable life, as I like to say. So, if you ever want to come on and talk Tao, like, my only ask is that you pick a number, and not everybody does that, right? Like, Bella will never pick a number, but love her anyway because she's the best. So thank you, John. Thank you, Kelly. And I'm going to thank myself, because it's always good to give yourself a little appreciation. I appreciate you guys. Thank you so much. And until next time, keep recovering yourself.